up, guys? Just going to make an announcement that we are going live, and we'll start in just a minute. Nick, Mike, congrats on 10K. I'm sure you guys saw it on on my story. My girlfriend got some balloons made. We were celebrating my birthday, obviously a belated birthday. Mine was on the 29th of March, and we had a good friend of ours come from out of town, and it was his birthday as well. His birthday is actually, I think it's today. So we celebrated last night. Finally able to make it to a live session. Forex bag. Good stuff, man. 13 people. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into this. Guys, mic's off, please. Mic's off, please. Thank you. All right. So yeah, anybody who's new, Sunday is usually a pretty quick meeting. What we were doing in the past is kind of going through like a Notion review and all sorts of different things. What we're going to be doing this week is just kind of, Dave is going to take care of doing like a small mini series on just how to use the template instead of just like, you know, doing it rather every single week. It's not that it's a lot of work. It becomes very, very repetitive. And yeah, I think we can just optimize it a little bit better and optimize our time a little bit better. So what we're going to do is, like I said, this week, we'll just create like a little mini series. I'm also working on a little mini series as well for the landing page within the Discord to just view a few of the things that are just more black and white stuff to kind of get you into like the up-to-date what we do within the market. So I'll be working on that this week, and Dave will be working on his. So just FYI, anybody who's new to the server, there's going to be a couple new videos kind of popping up in the next few days. So otherwise, basically, anybody who's new, welcome. So Sundays is when we basically go through just some higher time frame narrative stuff. We don't really get into like I'm going to touch on the monthly, I'm going to touch on the weekly, daily, and 4 hours. Typically what we're going to do. You said that you're going to do a video on order flow. Is that coming this week? Yes, it is. Should be filming it later on this evening, is kind of what I mentioned to you guys on Friday. So provided I actually get that done, it'll be released tonight, and if not, it'll be released tomorrow. It's only like a 10-minute video to do, but I just need to find some time to be able to do it. So yeah, it's definitely coming out. Okay, so let's just jump into this. We're going to start kind of just looking at, like I said, monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, kind of make it make sense. So I'm actually just going to switch over to, what was I using? I think I was using 8cap. And I don't use 8cap. I'm just using it because it has quite a bit of data for us. So, and I think a few of the other ones do, but it just gives you a little bit more perspective of what's going on. Now, it doesn't really affect us too heavily in terms of the way that we trade, but it's also good to just kind of be able to see just where we're sitting and what the reasonable expectation of the market is in the medium to long term. So the way that I view this is quite simple. I mean, this low failed to take out this high, even though we're coming down into the more discounted area within the leg. It's just we've got all sorts of liquidity building that will more than likely get taken before trying to make a run at these highs at some point. Who knows how long that'll take, but you can just see it a lot clearer as to kind of where we're sitting and what the next sort of expectation should be within the market. We've taken a run at this demand right here, like I said, and just obviously failed to take out this piece of structure that's sitting within here. So the bottom line is these lows are pretty weak, likely to sweep down into maybe something more extreme down in here to continue on this higher time frame sort of trend, to potentially take out these highs. Again, we don't really know when that's going to happen, but it's good to kind of set the tone and just understand that. I mean, the price that really makes sense for us right now is that obviously because we're coming into these lows, a lot of people would think that we should be swinging pretty hard on demand trades from a structure standpoint, but obviously you can just kind of see what's going on here, right? And like obviously like there's going to be a ton of liquidity resting below these lows, and the main detail that I'm sort of viewing is that this low failed to take out the high, giving this some softness to it. And I think that more than likely we'll see us sort of dive through here in the next few months to weeks, whatever it might be. And then we'll start taking a run at probably equal highs, getting held up here, and then carrying on our merry way. So it's nice to, like, again, I don't typically use the monthly in any of my analysis. It's basically 4 hour down to 5 second, but it gives you a good idea of what we can sort of expect coming up. So yeah, monthly, super simple. I would say that this is a region here, this is a region here that we could see some slow ups, maybe a sweep down into something like this. So again, Sundays are just for higher time frame stuff. We're not going to get into a crazy amount of lower time frame. So monthly, let's just see what the weekly says so that we can get a better idea. Yeah, you can just see the aggression that we've kind of moved through like all of last year, right? And everything's just kind of tapering down. Yeah, if you were betting right now to essentially go long from here, and I mean, who knows? I mean, anything can happen. We don't necessarily predict the market. We react is kind of like the whole idea behind this. But if you just look at the nature of the delivery into this area, there's not a whole lot of reason for price to want to really like navigate up to here, right? Like we don't have built up mitigations. Ideally, we would want to see some sort of a sweep down into possibly these regions underneath, right? Because technically this low has broken these levels, right? So we could very easily sweep down here and then see a half decent reaction to it, and then start looking for higher time frame sells into equals, right? So again, just trying to shed some light on like how to view this logically. I think that we can definitely expect this low to go relatively soon, based on the fact that there is arguably more relative liquidity resting below this low than these highs right now. So if you agree with this, drop a 1 in the comments in the Zoom, and if you're not in agreement, which is also cool, drop a 2. And I would love to hear kind of like the rationale behind what the thought process is. Cool. And just because I ask these questions, again, anybody who's new, don't be scared to challenge me. Like, just because I'm the guy showing you the way that I'm viewing things doesn't mean that I'm always right. It just means that the way that I'm viewing it is this way, and I'm more than open to hearing other people's opinions about what they're looking at. So yeah, so like I said, for the time being, very, very simple. I mean, this low didn't take the high, and we've broken bits of structure on the way down. This low should be weak, and that's kind of like the bottom line for today. Let's jump down into the daily. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so like I said, what I would do, and what I should start maybe doing, what about almost double top on the 15-minute time frame? I can not draw since I am on my phone. I'm going to work my way down to the 15-minute shortly. But yeah, I'll definitely work my way down and show you what my thoughts are getting into Sunday's Asia session and getting into the London session for tomorrow morning. So like I said, with the idea of knowing that these levels are weak, is there long plays to be able to take something up into structure points? Of course there is. From an intraday perspective, we can start to capitalize on the smaller moves within structure and stuff like that. But I mean, the bottom line is that this low is weak. So one of the things, and again, you don't need to do this, but it might help. It might be helpful, like when you might be having a toxic day or whatever it might be. Just remember to make a note here and just say, you know what, we got a weak low right here, right? And if you have that sitting there every single day while you're on the charts, and you just keep remembering that the higher time frame is like the objective of the higher time frame right now, based off of all the factors that we've just kind of covered, all boil down and equate to this 2-word little phrase right here. This low is weak, right? So it might save you a lot of headache. So just little stuff like this. And I mean, you didn't pay me to get a fucking annotation. I get that. But like the bottom line is all these things combined is what keeps you in check, right? We're after minimizing losses. And ultimately, until this low really gives out, I don't think that there's a really great long position to be had, right? I mean, we could possibly break through here, get another reaction to the low, and we can start looking for something like this, potentially come back up into a structure point. But like I said, the next real objective, at least from the higher time frame, the way that I'm reading it, is that this low should get taken out first. Okay, so that's the daily. So right now, if you're looking, I mean, it's to no surprise that we're reacting to the structure point. It's typically what's going to end up happening. There's no need to really swing for the fences on anything like this. Now, what we're going to do is just kind of mark this low out like this, and we're going to refine it on the lower time frames. Let's just go like this. Okay, so we got the daily. Let's jump down to the 4. Just going to get a better idea of what's going on. Okay, so right now, this is where, to me, things get a little bit interesting, because you get the higher time frame is very easy to read because it doesn't move very quick, right? And once we get into like the intraday plays, there's a lot of sort of conflicting narratives to sort of have within structure points from the higher time frame. So right now, as it sits, if we were to look at this, we cannot dispute that we've seen some form of change of character right here, right? So the origin of this move was never mitigated. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now, right? Is that mitigation. And we can see this a little bit better on the 15-minute. And we'll show you that in just a second here. So let's just bring this across. And that'll be sort of like our 4-hour demand. And okay, where's my 240 demand? So that's sitting here like this. And we had a level of liquidity to sort of take from the market. Right, we've basically come into this larger sort of demand range right here. We've gotten a mitigation, we've pushed down, we've swept up, and now we've swept back down and then swept the sweep, right? So these are all just breaks of structure on the 4-hour, but on the 15-minute, they can seem a little bit different than what they look like on the 4-hour. So right now, we can't, dispute that we're in a demand. Now, is this demand going to be super relevant to us? Well, I mean, nobody really knows for sure. But one of the things I'm very curious about, and kind of moving into this week, is that the amount of liquidity that was just taken into an unmitigated zone at the extreme becomes very interesting for me. So we might see a pretty decent reaction off of this. Why do you have different demand and supply box times on your templates? So the charts don't get messy. So yeah, George, I'll go through that maybe tomorrow or something like that, or maybe at the end. Yeah, it won't be today, but I'll go through how I set all of my stuff up. I think we actually have a video out on all of that, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I'll just have to check through the library, but I know we've talked about it on a Zoom call before. So basically, the gist of it is every single time that I plot these on, I have different templates so that they only show up on different time frames, right? So the idea is that I'm not going to have all of my 5-second drawing tools showing up on the 4-hour, and we have a huge amount of condensed stuff within here, 1 minute stuff, 15-minute stuff, because I don't want that showing up on my higher time frame. I want to have a clear and concise picture of what's going on the respective time frames. So I'll show, I can show you guys how to set that up. I'll do maybe a video. I'll see if we have one already, but if not, I'll make one this week for sure. Okay, so let's get the 240 demand. Okay, so sitting here like this, let's go down to the M15 for this guy. And I'm just going to scroll across over to here so that we can see a little bit better. I don't have my ultra wide on because not everybody has an ultra wide. But what I looked at was basically we had two main zones within this level, and basically how this extreme sort of gets any sort of attention whatsoever is because obviously we can see that we've chalked down, we've aggressively pushed through, we've created liquidity right here at this low, and you'll notice just how it's almost strategically how placed this little demand zone right here is. There's probably a lower time frame flip, which I'll get into in a second, but you can see how beautifully this is placed directly under a liquid region, right? So this is kind of like a textbook POI for us to trade. So let's jump down onto like a lower time frame in just a second here. Let's go down to like a, I don't know, we'll try a 5 minute and see what it looks like. It's supposed to just be higher time frame narrative stuff, but this is all relative. So, yeah, when you look in here, this is where things really actually get pretty interesting. And I remember looking at this a little bit deeper on Friday when this actual move was happening. But if you look, you can actually see that we've broken above and then broken the low, right? So we've broken structure, we've swept the low, created inducement, and then basically trying to break through this was somewhere in this region, right? So you can see that the last little area before this little piece got broken was somewhere in here. So this gives, to a certain degree, it's going to give a catalyst for price to want to either pull back or potentially even reverse, I mean, from these regions. So I'm just going to go like this and I'm going to zoom back out and I want to just drag across that 15-minute POI. I just wanted you to see those details on the lower time frame, why I would even drag across this demand zone, right? And you can just see like how perfectly we've sort of tapped into it, right? And now, you know, the 15-minute is where the story kind of really starts here. At least these are like the nitty-gritty details that I'm sort of watching is, okay, like right now we've swept down. I would say that order flow has shifted once this flip zone sort of gave way right here. And the idea is that, okay, we've reacted, right? We've pushed higher. In my opinion, what I think is going to very, very likely happen here is we are going to react to the structure point, which could prove to have a sell opportunity for us. I mean, we can't dispute that structure is sitting here. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing within this structure point is that we don't have a level of liquidity to really take into the POI other than this. I think that if we end up running this low, which and again, I don't want to be the guy that predicts the market. I'm not here to inflate my ego or anything like that. But I would say that if the market pushed down and took this low, I think there would be a very high probability chance that these highs would be the next area that the market's going to want to navigate to. So you'll notice that, you know, we probably have some sort of a lower time frame flip zone in here within this guy. I would be curious to see how these things happen. Now, the only thing I don't necessarily like about this flip zone is that, like, technically there's no sweep of liquidity within here. But yeah, we just kind of have to watch what ends up happening if and when we sort of come down, because like if we come down into here, right? Now, I don't know that the extreme is going to be anything relevant for us because technically we haven't broken structure. Ideally, what we'd like to do is see order flow sort of realign on that 15-minute and then be able to take this into ideally some built up mitigations and potentially take this quite a bit higher depending on how things sort of develop. But I would say just looking at this right now, if we were to take a long position for a potential really great trade, it would look something along the lines of this breaking down like this. And getting a lot of people trapped on the wrong side, looking for this to come back up to here. All the while, all we've done is liquidate these lows to then basically go after the equal highs into a higher level of structure. So again, I don't know that this would be like the trade of the week or the highlight of the week kind of thing. These things are, it's going to really just depend on how all of these things deliver. But yeah, we're just kind of speculating on what it is that might happen. And if and when something like this does happen, you'll kind of have that little voice in the back of your head of like, okay, well, ultimately, if we take these lows, we come into somewhere into the discount of the leg, and the next real area to be able to take liquidity from is going to be above these equal highs. And remember, like everything is revolving around this low being weak, but in the short term, we want to take potential buys up to a structure point and then take this into a sell, right? We want to be able to liquidate. In order for the market to want to come down here, we need orders to be sitting under this low, right? So if there's no orders sitting under this low, even though I shouldn't say that there's no orders. If there are more orders sitting above this high than there are this low, because everybody's shorting the market from this level, what do you think is going to happen, right? And you have to you got to think outside the box, right? With liquidity concepts. And it's really quite simple. When you think about liquidity, don't think of it as this big abstract term. It's quite literally just a shitload of orders. And there's orders everywhere in the market, but where are there more orders sitting? Right. So, and this changes every time price moves a little bit, right? So orders are going to get compounded and compiled rather above these highs the more taps we get into it, right? Because the idea behind this is that the more times that we tap into these regions, the more times that retail, even guys like us and girls like us, we're going to want to take sells, because this is what we're taught, right? We're taught that there's a structure point right here. Well, meanwhile, we could very easily come down like this, wick this high like this, and then come crashing straight down just to take out liquidity right here. And it's not because the market's against you. It's quite literally just because if there are more orders sitting above these highs than there are these lows, if we take these orders out, what's left? And this is a question you guys can mark up. If we take then it's a matter of, okay, well, guess what? The next available orders for the market to grab are no longer at these equal highs. People are wanting to trade this long, right? You have to remember how people think, right? They want to get in at the best possible price, but we've just liquidated the highs, and higher time frame order flow is bearish. So I would say, personally, and again, it's going to depend on how things deliver, and this is where you just kind of have to read between the lines of like, okay, where are buyers in control of the market from, and where are sellers in control of the market from? Well, right now, sellers are very simple. Sellers took control of the market here. Buyers took control of the market right here, right? If we come down like this, boom, now where are sellers in control from? And that's how I like to think about things. And like, we have all these crazy theories and these really big abstract concepts, but it's very simple. Sellers are now in control from here, right? And when you start to pair all these things together and you start to say, okay, well, we took out the highs, we've come up, we've seen some sort of a V-shape recovery, and then we jump into a flip or something like this, the next levels of liquidity are down here, right? So yeah, just kind of rambling at this point a little bit, but I just want to, just show you that like, there's these forecasting calls are kind of funny, to be honest, because it's really impossible to tell you, even from a pre-New York narrative standpoint. It's really difficult to say, okay, well, here's my POIs, but how price delivers into the POIs is what gives, at least for me, it's what gives it relevance, right? And I think you guys are slowly starting to get on the page of like, okay, like a POI is great. It's a good reference point. But if we don't build what we need to see in front of that POI, lower time frame liquidity, sweep up, followed by a break of structure to confirm it. Like, you know what I mean? It's all about the delivery on these things and how we pair these liquidity concepts with the structured points. So I hope this all makes sense. So if I was to just kind of give like a rounded off answer as to like where I think the trade of the week, if you want to say that, would kind of come from an intraday perspective, I think that honestly, I think we could probably see a decent push either through here that we could start looking for something possibly in here to then come down. And it doesn't mean that you got to take out the low. I mean, you got to target the next reasonable liquidity, and more than likely the next reasonable liquidity would be here. And there's probably 35R to take from here to here, right? Depending on how aggressive you get with your stop and how patient you get on the 5 second if you use it. And then on the longs, it would be very simple. If we came down into here, depending on, of course, how we delivered down into it, we could then look for something to then take out potentially equal highs to then take the sells into the equal lows, right? So it's quite simple. You know, just kind of looking at this right this second. I hope this has been pretty clear. And again, all of these scenarios that we just talked about, none of them need to happen. But if we were to, you know, kind of weigh out what the best looking scenarios would be, that's the purpose of this. And I hope that everybody can kind of understand the difference between what I'm saying. If these specific, very, very specific situations show themselves in the way that we've just kind of graphed them out or drawn them out together, the idea behind it, the theory behind it, is that you'll be able to capitalize on these moves if and when they present themselves without hesitation, right? So that's all I'm trying to do here. And then obviously, like, I mean, this is just talking very broad spectrum, but don't forget that just because these things sort of line up and these things start to deliver, don't lose sight of what the objectives are with our trading plan. And what I mean is, remember where you're sitting within the flow charts to essentially be able to decipher things properly so that you can actually capitalize on these moves. So I think I'm going to wrap it up like this and just keep, again, I'm trying to keep things nice and simple. And really, I mean, you know, we've kind of spoken about this before in previous forecasting calls. When you start to focus on 1 or 2 trade ideas per week and where those areas would be, where those trades would come from, doesn't that just like alleviate a lot more pressure to be able to just capitalize on very, very high probability, you know, kind of predetermined levels to really just say, you know what, if I can smash this trade, I might take 2 or 3 losses getting in, which is cool. I mean, it gets exciting when you sort of jump into these trade ideas and everything starts framing up almost picture perfectly. And it's very easy to get, you know, trigger happy, and it's to be expected. But don't deviate from the plan. It's going to be a little bit difficult when these things actually happen in real time. Just remember, the plan is literally designed to be like your insurance policy. At least you have something to go back to, right? I'm just kind of rambling here, but anyways, I hope this was clear. I hope it was concise. Are there any questions about, and again, I'm not, just understand what I'm saying here. Are there any questions about this Sunday's forecasting call, or is everything clear? If everything is clear, please drop a 1 in the comments. If you have a question or a concern about the specifics of this lesson, you can put a 2 in the comments. I know I'm doing good when Mike's got no questions. Cool. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll get this uploaded right now and hopefully posted in the next 15-20 minutes or so, depending on how YouTube ends up rendering this video. But yeah, if not, we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow morning. So we'll be on the charts at, for anybody who's new, you can go over to the Zoom links section, and we have all of our scheduled meetings, the time, and when they basically reoccur and stuff like that within that channel. But for anybody who is new, 5:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday is when we start our pre-New York narrative. It's typically only about 15 minutes long, if that sometimes. And all we do is kind of map out a few different POIs with our POI mapping flowchart, kind of understand whether or not we are trading counter or pro trend, with which flowchart we would actually use. And that's it. Nice and simple. Yeah, this is not, you're not going to be getting, and most of you guys already know this, but you're not going to get these clear cut videos on specific pieces of like structure, substructure, liquidity, or supply and demand. Everything is kind of packaged together every single day consistently to basically help you to put everything together. So anyways, guys, have a good rest of your Sunday. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Take care. Have a good one.